Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma231 here, back in daytime on Navigatoria, extra chapter number 7. This chapter is titled Bonus Chapter, Riku Kirin. And this is the final extra chapter we get in the Navigatoria series, of course, because this is the chapter that comes between chapter 29 and chapter 30, which does mean that yes, next chapter is the final chapter of this awesome series that I have definitely put a lot of effort into thinking about and very much enjoying, right? But this chapter, as the name suggests, it's all about Riku Kirin, as we pretty much learn what he was up to in his final few days. As not really to dive into any of what happened last time, because this chapter is like very much an episodic little story. I mean, this chapter is also only like what, 14 pages, so it's not like a very long chapter either. But the whole idea of this chapter is really just learning about Riku Kirin and what his final moments were like. And really, without any further ado, I just want to just go and hop into talking about this chapter. Like I said, there's no reason to talk about what happened last time, just because like there's just not much at all. So we start off this chapter with the narration of 6 months ago, as we see this really interesting disc-shaped spaceship flying above the planet of the Mental, very up high in the sky. As we see, this is the ship of the supreme leader of the Mujikno Republic named Ryutai, right? And or Ryutei, yeah, it's Ryu, A-I-U-E-O, so Tei, yeah, so the supreme leader of the Mujikno Republic, Ryutei. As you want to see, he's just like, oh, so that is the Mental, right? There's a little bit of narration just explaining like, hey, because the Supreme Leader was on a vacation on a different planet, he wasn't caught in the Earth's destruction, being like, yes, the Earth's destruction happened a little while ago, right? But it's been enough time where he's going to go over to planet the Mental to live out the rest of his days, pretty much, right? As we see a character who we also realize is Hakutaku is standing here. Of course, this is what Hakutaku looked like before he had all of the various bandages and everything on his face, right? As we pretty much see with one of these other guys in a suit ask, like, hey, the preparations have been made to welcome the Supreme Leader, correct? And Hakutaku just says like, oh yes, I've also contacted the stationed Earth Army soldiers. They will be here to see the Supreme Leader alive and well. I'm sure they will be positively sobbing with emotion, right? As we see this spaceship land on the ground, and who would meet him there but, of course, Riku Kirin. As we see that he's sort of like bowing his head down like, oh yes, we've been expecting you. I've been assigned to be your guide through the Mental. My name is Kirin, right? One of the guys in suits just says like, oh, very well then. So the Supreme Leader is inside, but of course, before he can say that, Kirin grabs out a gun and just shoots him straight in the head, right? He's just like, understood. As this guy's body just falls to the ground. As we cut back inside of the ship where we see that Hakutaku is talking with Ryutei and all of these other people, right? Saying like, hey, we're getting all of this stuff together. And Ryutei's like, hey, get all of the women ready. I'm continuing my vacation on the Mental, right? And we see that Hakutaku's like, of course, we will certainly be getting all of that for you, right? As we see one of the guys with suits sort of walks over towards the entrance of the ship and is like, hey, what's the matter, dude? As we see just one of these guys just falls straight onto the ground, a gunshot in his head, blood spurting out, right? As we see that all of a sudden, these two people get shot in the head and chest respectively, as we then see that the only two people left in this hall are Hakutaku and Ryutei, right? As we see as Hakutaku's like, oh, Supreme Leader, and dodges in the way of Ryutei in this moment, right? As Kirin just goes through, fires his gun a few more times, both putting a fatal wound into Ryutei's head, but also putting a wound into Hakutaku. Of course, we know this is not lethal for Hakutaku, being like, yes, I have read Navigatoria thus far, right? It's like, I'm not starting here or anything. As we see that Kirin is just like, oh, wow, I really can't believe I did it, right? But he doesn't really have too much time to rejoice as Hakutaku comes over, grabs his gun, and shoots Kirin straight into the hand, making Kirin drop his gun in this moment, right? As Kirin just thinks to himself like, hey, the one I loved was taken from me together with the Earth. As we see that he goes over and tries to grab another gun from his side, picking it up out of the ground and sort of grabbing it with his other hand to point it at Hakutaku. But of course, it doesn't matter because Hakutaku is slightly faster as he just shoots Kirin here in the moment, right? As we start to go into a little bit of a flashback between Kirin and Lycra, as we just hear a voice say, hey, Riku, right? As we see, this is whenever Lycra was telling Kirin that she was going to be being the Navigatoria and all that other stuff, and she just says like, hey, I'm going to be leaving Earth for a little while. This is just between us, okay? I'm going to try to become the leader of a colonized star, right? And she says, like, hey, and then I'm going to shoot the Supreme Leader whenever he comes down and shows up, right? She just says, like, hey, I'm going to do, like, kapow, just like that, right? And she says, like, hey, then I'm going to be a dictator. And she's like, wouldn't that just be perfectly wonderful, right? She says, like, hey, I may be a bad person, but the Supreme Leader who kills thousands of citizens is even worse. Everyone will be happy with him dead. Both those who saw the future and those who he have killed. You'll be happy too, won't you, Kirin? As Kirin's just like, oh, yes, I will. As we see that Lycra sort of just comes up, gives him a nice big hug, and sort of like kisses him on the cheek, just saying like, hey, thank you so very much, right? As we just see Kirin's dying breath on the ground, back in the ship, of course, of the Nabigatoria Republic, as he's just laying there, the blood is foaming out of his mouth. He just says, oh, look at that. My wish came true. Because, of course, he fulfilled Lycra's wish that she was never able to fulfill of shooting the Supreme Leader straight into the head. As his eyes are just closed, and he just thinks like, hey, now for yours. As of course he's thinking about Manabu. Of course, as we look inside on Manabu's table, where Kirin had filled up both of those 2 glasses of tea that we saw in chapter 23 of the series, and that is where we end this really small mini chapter of Navigatoria. Now, like I said, there's not really a whole lot of content in this chapter, not really a whole lot that also relates back to the main story of Navigatoria, of like, hey, the Earth has been destroyed and all this other various stuff. But this is honestly a very nice, like, sort of final hurrah for Kirin's character, understanding what happened there, and there's like a little bit of nice things to know of like, hey, this is what all of this is about, a little bit more about Lycra, like, not that much, but just like a little bit, seeing how Hakutaku reacted and like how Hakutaku ended up becoming this. It also puts a little bit into perspective, like Hakutaku knew what he was doing, that the Nabigatoria Republic was already pretty much done and destroyed for. Like, he was literally the only one left, and even still, he just wanted to just get rid of Manabu out of, like, just the country's whims, I guess. It definitely seemed like he was very much kissing butt to the Nabigatoria Republic leader Ryutei, so just a few interesting things there, but really not too much to really just sit here and know. It's a little bit of an interesting chapter, just seeing all this stuff from Kirin again. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on this chapter of Navigatoria. Again, this was just a very short extra chapter. And hey, next time I'll be back to talk about the final chapter, number 30 of Navigatoria. So hey, if you guys did enjoy this video, I've got a few other Navigatoria videos up on the channel. Go check out all of those. And hey, if you just like hearing me talk about manga, I also do that semi-frequently. I also try to talk about anime too, but I try to get caught up on all of the manga series I am covering first and then talk about anime because, like, hey, manga keeps going week by week by week by week. So if I miss, like, 30 weeks, I'm just screwed. While anime normally comes out in seasons, like, hey, even if I miss 30 weeks, I still have, like, the 8 episodes left I need to cover for a certain series, but it sort of is what it is there. Again, thank you guys so very much for watching this video. Navigatoria Extra Chapter number 7, titled Bonus Chapter, Riku Kirin. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time for Navigatoria Chapter number 30, also known as the final chapter of this series. I'll catch you guys then. This will be Glowplasma 231 with a very short video, signing out.